The bridge of the Vraxtal, flagship of the Zarvak Dominion Armada, hummed with cold efficiency. Dozens of officers worked in silence, claws tapping controls, eyes flicking between holographic displays. A fleet of 400 warships loomed in formation behind them, eclipsing the stars. Their next conquest was scheduled within the hour. Then came the ping. A soft blip echoed through the command deck, small, almost ignorable. "Unidentified object entering outer perimeter," said Ensign Wheeler, his tendrils twitching nervously. Admiral S.H. Rack didn't look up. "Another miner? Redirect them." "It's not a miner, sir. It's a Terran ship. Alone." That made S.H. Rack pause. "Human? Alone?" "Yes, sir. A frigate-class vessel. No escort. Minimal energy signature." S.H. Rack turned his gaze to the central holodisplay. There it was, a black wedge of metal, sleek and silent, drifting just outside weapons range. Its name blinked on the hull in Terran script, T.S.S, Gentleman Caller. A smirk slithered across S.H. Rack's scaled jaw. "They send a courier to a fleet? Should I hail them, Admiral?" "Do it. And patch it through fleet-wide. Let the crew hear how fragile prey sounds." Static. Then music. A gentle saxophone floated through the speakers, earth jazz, smooth and oddly haunting. Ensign Wheeler flinched. "Sir, they're not responding to voice comms. Only this noise." "Noise?" S.H. Rack hissed. "That's not noise. That's mockery." Before he could issue orders, the display shifted. The Terran frigate had turned. It now faced the fleet directly. A transmission opened. On screen appeared a human. Mid-40s, slight gray at the temples, uniform crisp and unassuming. He smiled. Not a warm smile. Not a hostile one either. Just pleasant. Like a barista asking how you take your coffee. "Greetings," the man said, his voice smooth, polite. "Commander Elias Rourke of the Terran Stellar Service. I assume I'm speaking to someone important?" S.H. Rack narrowed his 9 eyes. "You're speaking to Admiral S.H. Rack of the Zarvak Dominion." "Ah. An honor, truly." Rourke nodded. "Forgive the intrusion. We're just passing through." S.H. Rack snorted. "You're in restricted space. This sector belongs to the Dominion." Rourke tilted his head. "That's odd. Last I checked, Starlight wasn't something you could own." The room tensed. "Turn back immediately," S.H. Rack growled. "Or be removed." Rourke's smile didn't falter. "I understand." "I do. But you see, Admiral, this little detour is quite necessary. We're testing a navigational AI. Very stubborn. Doesn't like changing course once it locks in." "You're mocking me." "Oh, never, Admiral. That would be impolite." There was something off about the way Rourke spoke. Each word chosen carefully, politely, yet leaving something behind in the air. A subtle unease. Like he knew more than he let on. S.H. Rack leaned forward. "We could vaporize your ship with a thought. I'd prefer you didn't. Would ruin the paint." The Admiral's patience thinned. "Do you not understand your position, human? You are surrounded." "True." Rourke sipped from a plain ceramic mug. "But then again, so are you." Silence. The Admiral blinked. Ensign Wheeler whispered, "Sir, did he just analyze that transmission?" S.H. Rack barked. "Scan the frigate. All frequencies." The analysts worked fast. Sweat, or the Zarvak equivalent, formed across foreheads. "Report!" barked S.H. Rack. "The ship's running passive systems only. No shield rays. Weapons cold." "But—" the analyst hesitated. "But what?" "There's interference. Something's jamming our deep scans. It's like we're looking at a shadow." "Impossible." Rourke, still visible on screen, smiled as if he could hear them. "Lovely stars tonight, aren't they? So many little dots. Makes one feel small." "You're stalling," S.H. Rack snapped. "Not at all. Just admiring the view." Dominion ships are very photogenic. Sleek. Intimidating. A shame, if anything, disrupted them. The Admiral pounded a fist on the console. Enough. One more word from you and I. We'll do what exactly? Rourke's smile remained. Fire? Declare war on Earth? Over a single ship? His tone hadn't changed. Still pleasant. Still calm. That's what made it terrifying. Let me be clear. Rourke continued, voice still smooth as velvet. I didn't come to fight. But I am prepared. Very prepared. You expect us to believe a lone frigate is a threat? Oh no. I expect you to underestimate me. That's the whole point. A beat passed. Then Rourke leaned slightly toward the camera. You see, Admiral, humans aren't the kind of species that knock before breaking the door down. We smile. We chat. We give warnings disguised as compliments. Then, when we're sure you weren't listening, we get to work. The line went dead. The gentleman caller remained still. Then the Dominion fleet's lights flickered. Ensign Vueller gasped. Admiral, systems across the fleet are glitching. Cyber warfare? S.H. Rack barked. No breach detected. Just anomalies. Random failures. But synchronized. Rourke's voice returned, this time audio only, through every ship's intercom. Friendly tip, you might want to reboot your sensor arrays. We've been here longer than you think. Suddenly, 100 tiny blips appeared on every display, asterisk inside asterisk the Dominion formation. Drones. Cloaked. Already deployed? Already watching. S.H. Rack stood frozen. His mouth opened, but no order came. Rourke's voice, soft and final. This wasn't a threat, Admiral. It was a courtesy. One frigate. One message. And just like that, the gentleman caller turned. Slowly. Casually. Drifting away into the dark. No weapons fired. No battles fought. But everyone on the Vraxtal knew something had changed. They had stared down a Terran warship. And it had smiled first. 3 hours after the gentleman caller disappeared into the void, Admiral S.H. Rack still hadn't moved from the command platform. Silence lingered on the bridge. Even the normally brisk tapping of claws and tentacles against control panels had ceased. Every officer, from tactical to engineering, operated under a cloud of quiet dread. No one dared speak aloud, the one thought hanging heavy in the air. What just happened? It wasn't defeat. It was something worse. A reminder that there were creatures out there who smiled while planting knives you couldn't see. Recheck the sensor logs. S.H. Rack finally ordered, his voice low. All of them. They've already been checked 6 times, Admiral. Vueller said, hunched over his terminal. There's nothing. The drones disappeared. The Terran ship left no wake. It was like they were never here. They were here. S.H. Rack hissed. I spoke to one. His words carried weight now. He wasn't just an admiral anymore, he was a witness. And something about Rourke's grin, that unblinking calm, gnawed at him deeper than a plasma wound. Admiral, said Vueller again, tentatively, the Council has requested an immediate report. The High Seat wants to know why a Terran ship wasn't neutralized on contact. S.H. Rack's jaw clenched. Because, Ensign, I don't fire at diplomats. Even if they hide bombs behind their smiles. There was an edge in his voice now. One born not from fear, but from the deep discomfort of a hunter suddenly unsure who the real predator was. Across the galaxy, aboard the gentleman caller, Commander Rourke was humming softly to himself. The mess hall was quiet. Sterile metal walls. A long table. One chair pulled out. A mug of tea beside a datapad. No crew, at least, not one that anyone could see. Rourke sat in solitude, his posture relaxed, eyes scanning the lines of code on his pad. A flicker of light passed across his face. Status, he said aloud, not looking up. A voice replied, smooth and synthetic. All Zarvak vessels are still broadcasting passive confusion. Defensive systems back online. Weapons remain cold. Good, Rourke said, sipping. They're still stunned. That buys us time. You believe they'll retaliate? No. Not yet. Not until they've called 100 meetings and convinced themselves I was bluffing. He stood, stretched, and walked to the observation port. The stars beyond shimmered, cold and distant. Humans aren't what they expect, he murmured. That's the advantage. The AI paused before replying. Most empires rely on fear. Yours relies on uncertainty. No one fears the friendly stranger, Rourke said with a faint grin. Until it's too late. Meanwhile, at the Dominion Council chamber on Fexer Prime, panic wore the disguise of protocol. Unacceptable, growled Lord Krenthal, slamming a gavel with enough force to fracture the stone table. One Terran ship danced through a fleet. No warning. No resistance. Councilors bickered, clicked, shrieked in their native tongues. The hall was chaos. Only one voice broke through with calm. Perhaps the issue is that we keep mistaking humans for animals. All heads turned. The speaker was Ilana, the elder diplomat of the Varn species, gray-skinned, frail-looking, but far from senile. They aren't beasts, she said. They don't roar before striking. They knock. Politely. While their blade is already at your spine. Silence. Do you know why they don't fear extinction? She continued, standing slowly. Because they've rehearsed it. Over and over. On their own world. Through war, famine, self-destruction. Earth didn't raise warriors, it raised survivors. And what does that mean for us? Krenthal demanded. It means we stop laughing. And we start listening. Back aboard the gentleman caller, Rourke was preparing his next move. Set a course, he told the AI. Quietly. System A14. The relay outpost. Route calculated. Estimated arrival, 4 hours. And our drones? Still embedded in the Dominion systems. Undetected. Rourke allowed himself a moment of pride. Not over the infiltration, that was expected. But over the restraint. The idea of the human threat had been enough. Now, it was time to whisper into the ears of those who weren't listening yet. He activated the recorder. Across Dominion comms, a voice began to echo. Calm. Precise. Recorded. Good evening. If you're hearing this, it means you've been compromised. The message was short. Subtle. Just enough to confirm what the Dominion feared. You're probably wondering how. When. Why. But most of all, what now? The message paused. That depends on you. On the Zarvak flagship, SH Rack stood frozen as the transmission repeated. What now? The phrase cut deeper than any threat. Because it wasn't a warning. It was a choice. The humans hadn't fired a shot. They had simply appeared. And the Dominion, so proud, so certain of their supremacy, was already unraveling. You ever wonder, Rourke mused, why we named the ship Gentleman Caller? The bridge was dim, lit only by status panels and the ghost blue glow of stars outside. Rourke stood near the forward display, his back to the AI core, hands clasped behind him. He looked, in that moment, less like a commander and more like a professor about to deliver a lecture. The AI responded. I assumed it was sarcasm. Not sarcasm, Rourke corrected. Strategy. He tapped the glass in front of him as if pointing to a distant memory. It's disarming. Elegant. Harmless sounding. You see Deathbringer on your scopes, you brace. But Gentleman Caller? Sounds like we're bringing tea and poetry. The AI hesitated, then replied dryly. Instead, we bring subspace worms and political sabotage. Rourke grinned. Exactly. 4 systems away, the relay outpost in Sector A14 had gone dark. The Dominion's regional command assumed it was a solar flare, until the diagnostic pings stopped bouncing back. Then the emergency beacon failed. Then the fallback station's comms were jammed. It took them 36 minutes to realize the outpost hadn't gone dark. It had been turned off. And no ships had gone in. No weapons fired. No alarm raised. Only a single name appeared in the logs before blackout: diplomatic vessel, Earth Frigate 12, gentleman caller. Explain to me, demanded High Strategist Varnox, how one Terran ship can bypass our defensive matrix, infiltrate our network, and vanish, twice, without engaging a single defense platform. No one in the room had an answer. At least, no one brave enough to give the right one. Because the only real answer was, they didn't understand humanity at all. On board the gentleman caller, Rourke slid a data cube into the command console. A holographic projection flared to life, a swirling display of Dominion defense grids, fleet locations, economic routes, and encrypted diplomatic channels. All harvested in less than 3 days. How long until they start mobilizing fleets? Rourke asked, scanning the data. Conservatively 8 hours. Aggressively 3, the AI replied. And public reaction? Varied. The Alaran colonies are nervous. The Viarkai traders are pulling ships from shared lanes. The Zarvak are suspicious. Good, Rourke muttered. Let them stew. He turned to a side console and pulled up another display, this one showing an open diplomatic invitation. The kind humans sent when they wanted to look vulnerable. I think it's time we offered them tea. In the Dominion capital, a new communique arrived. It was addressed to the Council. It was written in perfect galactic trade common. To the esteemed members of the Dominion Council, the Terran delegation would like to formally invite representatives of the Dominion for a private negotiation aboard our vessel. For peace. For clarity. And for the future of diplomatic relations. Sincerely, Commander Rourke. Earth Frigate 12, gentleman caller. The message came with no encryption. It was either the most transparent diplomatic gesture ever sent, or bait. Counselor Trask clicked his beak and muttered, "It's a trap." Counselor Ilana replied, "Of course it is. But it's also a performance." Krenthal snarled. "What kind of performance?" "A human one," she answered. "They'll smile, offer wine, and hold a knife under the table. Our only defense is to bring our own blade and pretend we don't notice theirs." Rourke straightened his uniform as the Dominion shuttle docked. His uniform wasn't decorated. No badges, no medals. Just clean, gray, and spotless. He looked more like a hotel concierge than a military officer. The Dominion delegation arrived in full ceremonial armor, spikes, robes, feathers, scales polished to mirror shine. "Welcome aboard," Rourke said warmly, extending his hand. None of the delegates took it. "Very formal," he added, not missing a beat. "Just the way we like it." He led them into the meeting chamber, a surprisingly modest room, with glass walls overlooking the stars and a long metal table flanked by chairs clearly designed for multiple species. "Refreshments?" he offered. "CAF, water, nerve wine, espresso?" Krenthal glared. "We did not come here to drink." "No problem," Rourke said, sitting down casually. "We came to talk." Which is harder, honestly. The meeting lasted 40 minutes. No threats were made. No demands voiced. Rourke answered every question with polite ambiguity. "What is your purpose here?" "To open lines of communication." "Why invade our outposts?" "We didn't. It welcomed us. Like a door left unlocked." "You've committed espionage." "I've gathered public data." "You just didn't know it was public." "You are dangerous." "I'm human." That was all he said. He didn't boast. He didn't gloat. But every word came with the weight of intent. And every time he smiled, someone on the Dominion side twitched. After they left, Counselor Ilana stayed behind. She studied Rourke for a long moment. "You could have crippled our systems." "You didn't." "Correct." "Why?" Rourke leaned forward. "Because fear fades. Doubt lingers." Her eyes narrowed. "You want us afraid?" "No," he said. "I want you careful." Back on their shuttle, Krenthal slammed his fist against the hull wall. "This is war!" "No," Ilana said quietly. "This is humanity announcing itself." In orbit above a forgotten moon, the gentleman caller drifted. Silent. Still. But its calms were alive with the whispers of chaos it had seeded. And Rourke, calm, collected, terrifyingly polite, was already preparing the next move. Because this wasn't war. Not yet. It was just the opening act. The galaxy didn't fall with a scream. It fell with a chuckle, served over coffee. Commander Rourke stood in the gentleman caller's observation lounge, looking out at the wreckage of a fleet that hadn't even been fired upon. The stars blinked calmly overhead, a celestial audience unaware, or perhaps amused, by the quiet dismantling of a 1,000-year-old empire. Behind him, the AI's voice chimed. All 34 Dominion forward bases have gone silent. Encryption key propagation is complete. We now control 12% of their internal communications grid. Rourke sipped his coffee and nodded. Begin the leak. Drip feed the truth. Truth, sir? He smiled. That they were outplayed by one ship and one polite man with a clipboard. 24 hours earlier, the Dominion had returned to their council chambers in shambles. The polite conversation with Rourke had stirred something deeply unsettling. ****. Not because he threatened them. He hadn't. Not once. He'd just shown them what he could do. And then didn't. That restraint terrified them more than annihilation. Elana had warned the others. The humans are performing. Every smile, every word, every non-aggressive action, it's a dance. They're waiting for us to blink. Krenthal, however, demanded action. Deploy the fleet. Teach them fear. And so the Dominion did. They dispatched a battle group, 300 warships, including 4 dreadnoughts, to encircle the gentleman caller. Not to destroy it, not yet. Just to intimidate. That was their second mistake. On board the Terran frigate, there were no signs of worry. No raised shields. No emergency protocols. Just Commander Rourke calmly reviewing star charts and sipping black coffee as if surrounded by friends. When the Dominion fleet hailed them, the human comms officer patched it through. Terran vessel. This is Supreme Admiral Tyvek of the Dominion. Power down and prepare for boarding. Rourke didn't flinch. He set his mug down and leaned into the camera. Admiral. I'd advise against that. You are surrounded. I know. You sent the RSVP earlier. You will comply, or we'll breach your hull. Rourke smiled. Not smug. Not mocking. Just amused. You're about to learn the difference between a ship surrounded and a ship prepared. And then he cut the line. Bring up the playback. Rourke ordered. The AI displayed footage of the Dominion's own encrypted war meetings. Leaked. Broadcasted. Carefully timed. Now, hundreds of Dominion captains were hearing their own leaders speak of sacrificing fleets to provoke Earth. Using them as pawns. Already, 3 ships were turning away from formation. 2 others were refusing orders. Initiate passive echo scramble, Rourke said. Let them think we've activated a weapon. One by one, Dominion ships started to ping anomalies. Ghost signatures. Power fluctuations. A strange subspace signal mimicking weapons buildup, but without a single watt of energy behind it. Fear did the rest. On the Dominion dreadnought Vorthax, Admiral Tyvek pounded a fist against the console. They've done nothing and still our fleet fractures. This is psychological warfare. Elana's image appeared on his screen. He told you. You should have listened. He dared us to act. No, Admiral, she replied coldly. He invited us to. Back on the gentleman caller, Rourke was already 2 steps ahead. Send message to the neutral VRK observers, he said. Tell them we're opening our data. Full transparency. Won't that expose our moves? Exactly. Let them see we're not lying. We're just better at this. And with that, the Terran network released everything: intercepted plans, Dominion troop movements, illegal mining ops in neutral zones. Within hours, entire colonies were rioting. Alliances cracked. Minor factions declared independence. The Dominion didn't fall from orbital bombardment. They fell from disgrace. Later, in a private subspace channel, Ilana called Rourke. She looked tired. Her ceremonial robes were gone. No feathers, no posturing. "What do you want?" she asked, voice brittle. Rourke leaned forward, still calm. "We want what we've always wanted, to be left alone." She stared. "You did all this, just to be left alone?" "You assumed silence meant weakness," Rourke said. "It meant patience. You could have crippled our empire with a virus or kinetic strikes." "Yes," he nodded. "But then someone else would have tried again next year. This way, no one forgets." Ilana exhaled. "You're not diplomats." Rourke gave a half-smile. "We're polite predators. We play nice. Until it's no longer worth the performance." In the days that followed, the gentleman caller disappeared from Dominion sensors. No one saw it leave. It was simply gone. Rumors spread. Some said it cloaked. Others claimed it never existed. But the data it left behind reshaped galactic politics. Treaties were rewritten. Empires shrank. Earth, once dismissed as backward, was now spoken of in hushed tones. Not because of power, but because of precision. On a quiet outpost orbiting a gas giant, two Vrki traders shared a drink. One asked, "Do you think they'll ever strike again?" The other shook his head. "Only if someone's foolish enough to invite them back."